Sometimes people can't log on, but they are watching, so just want to say good morning to Maria because she did say good morning to me in the chat. So hello everybody, as we journey into our dealing with the healing. I don't know how this keeps happening, you know. It seems like the right Sundays at the right time with topics that really resonate with my soul. And today, as we conclude this holiday week, we journey into dealing with the healing. There are some universal truths to today's conversation that must be addressed. First, everyone is dealing with something. Second, healing is not permanent. And lastly, everyone will need some help eventually. It's so weird to think of this as the holidays. I, for one, still can't believe it's fall already, let alone it's almost December. Even though the year has been drastically long and painful, it still seems to me as if it was in a blink of an eye. Or better yet, it seems like it was so many years wrapped up in 2020 that we should just skip on over to 2025 come January. See, holidays are supposed to be full of cheer and love and laughter. But how do you do that with COVID-19? I hope at bare minimum, if you couldn't FaceTime or Zoom Thanksgiving dinner, you at least were able to speak to loved ones over the phone. And for many of us who don't celebrate Thanksgiving for layered reasons, I hope you enjoyed a day off. Maybe we're able to catch up on some things and relax. In my career, I am often reminded that holidays are not so happy for many people. Around this time, suicides usually skyrocket worldwide. When I was newer on the job, I never could figure out what made the spike so significant during the holiday season. But in time, I learned that the holidays are a painful reminder for many and happy only for some. I think this holiday season, we all share a bit of that somber holiday idea. So many of us have suffered a loss this year, know someone who is sick right now, is afraid of getting sick, lonely, sad, depressed, stressed, crazy, lonely. Did I say lonely? The way we feel this year is troublesome and concerns me because of what I have seen so many times before during this time of year. So I ask you, for real, how are you dealing? Have you picked up a new hobby? Have you binge watched everything on Netflix? Have you traveled more since the prices are low? Have you saved lots of money on not going out? What can you tell me good about your life that has happened in 2020? If you want, you can share it in the chat. I put the computer over there, but when I come up at the end, maybe I'll bring up some of the different topics. We can continue the conversation on Zoom after service. I'm really curious to know. I ask this because, as we all know, perception is reality. So if we keep perceiving 2020 as this gruesome year, then that's all it will ever be. But what about the good? Even if it was tiny, there has to be some good somewhere. It's 365 days. For me, I have been home more. So I've been able to spend more time with friends and family, more than I was able to before. I'm very grateful that as crazy as this year has been, it has really forced me to stop and think, to figure out what I'm dealing with, what I want as I move forward. The reason why we don't deal well is because most of us are trying to be strong, whatever that means. Some see strength as those who stick their chests out, act like they can handle everything. But for me, strength is just facing your issues head on. Sometimes all the strength I have is just showing up. That's it. Just to get myself together and stop crying is all I got. Don't expect nothing else of me. I'm going through the process. I'm working towards a solution, and I still showed up today. So yes, that's it. That's all I got. I'm still dealing with this election. I'm excited for new leadership, don't get me wrong. Most of us are. But I'm still dealing with the opposing side. And not because those who voted red are Republican, not that they were in favor of tax breaks, nothing like that. I respect the difference of opinion. What's hard for me is somewhere down the line, the party affiliation got tied to so many negative things like racism and the KKK and things that affect low socioeconomic communities. And because of that correlation, even though I know it's not true for all the voters in the party, it still hurts me that some people feel this way. Lots of people feel this way. Some even donated large amounts of money to Black Lives Matter, but then they turned around and still voted red, and that just hurts. A part of me doesn't even know why it does, it just does. Dealing with the healing is a process, and each of us are in some part of it. For one reason or another, for some it may be a relationship issue, a family issue, marriage issues, parenting issues, health issues, friendship issues. Maybe someone you love stabbed you in the back, lied to you, wished bad on you. Or if you want to go there, even financial issues, racism issues, generational curses, ancestor issues, all sorts of issues. I know someone is wondering how finances got thrown in there. You always got to come prepared for a UU because they stay on the hunt for truth and meaning, and I know y'all won't let me get to the next point without explaining, so here we go. So finances and healing. You never saw the correlation between your net worth and your personal worth? You never noticed you value yourself in terms of what you have outside of you rather than what's inside of you? Well, I've seen that a lot, a whole lot. See, some people are so poor, money and materials is all they got. Let COVID get in their house. Let somebody can't go to work. But they're living check to check because they treat conspicuous consumption as the most high, all because they're dealing. They are dealing with things. Maybe not in the most efficient ways. Maybe not in ways that will create generational wealth, but in ways that make them feel better about themselves, in ways that place a Band-Aid over their true wounds. That's good old retail therapy. These wounds in my ancestry, Rick Ross alludes to in an interlude of his song Reprise. He says he has a person on the track who's called, it's a rapper named Pimp C. And he says, a little over a year ago, I was in bondage, and now I'm back out here reaping the blessings and getting the benefits that go along with it. Everything that's out here for kings like us. The reason why we are like this, the jewelry and the diamonds and stuff, they don't understand is because we're really from Africa. And that's where all this stuff come from. And we originated from kings, you know what I'm saying? So don't look down on the youngsters because they want to have shiny things. It's in our genes. Know what I'm saying? We just don't all know our history. We originated from Africa. Okay, we could go there. There were people who looked like us, who were wealthy and wore shiny things. But they had 3 classes of wealth just like we have today. There was an upper class, a middle class, and a lower class. So if you spent every penny you got and you had nothing left over, you would be in the lower class. And shiny things would not be something a peasant, a slave, or a farmer would wear by all means. Wear shiny things if you can comfortably afford them, but if you can't, understand you perpetuate this cycle. And we're not really talking about shiny things here. We're just talking about the music presenting ideals to people on one end of the spectrum, because of maybe what that artist is dealing with or what they're healing from. And then they're creating a message to others who are dealing and healing from other things, and they correlate. In this way, maybe not always best, because that may create the ideal that it's okay to have shiny things and not work hard for them. An unhealed, wealthy-looking person with no wealth is not what we want to perpetuate. The things we are dealing with started long before we were born, and unfortunately, they may last long after we leave. Healing is a continuation because pain only stops, we think, at death. What does healing look like for you? Some people can experience the same thing but deal with it differently, heal from it differently. Some may seek friends or family, others counselors, therapy, medication, but we all must learn efficient ways to individually address our healing, because healing is a process that does not happen overnight. Some will say, I've healed, now what? Well, now you deal. And the process of dealing and healing continues back and forth and back. A big challenge when dealing with healing is shame. I think shame should have a time frame. In a perfect world, you should only have to deal with shame for so long before you could just leave it behind. Sometimes with shame, some have waited their whole life to come out. Not just as LGBTQ+, but even those who are just coming into their own. Then after all this anxiety, all this buildup, now they are shamed. Sometimes from others, but sometimes from themselves. Healing is not permanent. Some people travel to America for opportunity. They leave their entire family behind. They earn citizenship, and finally they think they have made it. They've healed. Only for someone to pick at their accent in the grocery store. Healing must be obtained and then maintained forever. As long as we are still able to be hurt, we will still need to be healed. You know, the end of the world is not the only crisis to fear, right? Some people's biggest crisis, the biggest thing they are dealing with, the major thing they are healing from, it happened a long time ago. Some little girls, some little boys, some gender-neutral kids were abused. Some physically, some sexually, some mentally, some all three. Some women, some men, some gender-neutral adults were abused. Some physically, some sexually, some mentally, and some all three. And we know somebody who, like them, suffered a similar traumatic event, who went through a crisis, and well, they're fine now. So why are they still dealing? That happened years ago. Why are they still crying? Why can't they get past it? See, we like to minimize people's crisis all the time. Some will say, man, I feel like I'm underwater. This job or this situation, man, it's killing me. And you'll say, oh, you'll be okay. I hate my job too. But at least you got a job during this pandemic. In the book Crisis Intervention Strategies by Richard James and Burrell Gilliland, they define crisis as individuals who are overwhelmed and unable to marshal the resources needed to, at that moment, attend to what has happened. I'm reading this book right now in class. It's a crisis course that I'm taking. And as I was preparing for this service today, I came across that definition and thought, wow, that has everything to do with healing, because it's the type of healing, it's the type of crisis. This could be anything. I mean, again, it's individuals who are overwhelmed and unable to marshal the resources needed at that moment to attend to what has happened. That could be a flat tire if you ain't got the right materials to go ahead and change it. That could be anything. A crisis can be as small or as large as we want to make it. In the text, they focus on various aspects that add to that crisis, such as structural changes in a relationship, lack or deactivation of coping mechanisms, a sense of loss within the family, family communication, inability to function in the usual manner, and balance within the system. That kind of sounds like a pandemic to me. We have to listen better. We have to be more present, because oftentimes people are constantly sharing what they're dealing with, but we are hearing complaints rather than their pain. When we don't listen, we are minimizing their crisis, contributing to their pain, and adding to their healing list of things to do. Listen to your soul intelligently. Be compassionate to someone you may think is an idiot. And when you're done dealing with your own healing, help someone else. Because we all need some help sometime. Maybe not with bills or not a shoulder to cry on. Maybe just some inspiration or confirmation or just someone to listen. I cannot stress enough how important your support system is right now. If you don't have one, create one. If one you have is not working, find a new one. Heck, call us, Facebook us, Instagram us. Here, I will even drop my email in the chat when I go back to sit down. It's okay to need someone sometimes. Someone wrote, sharing your lifetime experience can be the experience of a lifetime. So as you work on dealing and healing and dealing with the healing in all different ways, be reminded that your healing can help someone else. I'm not suggesting that you air your dirty laundry, but share your healing. Spread your healing, because right now we can all use a little extra.